The Dodgers got the win and swept Minnesota, but the visible disconnect between Shohei Ohtani and Dalton rushing stole the spotlight, becoming impossible to ignore.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now.
I'm Harry Ruiz, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers. On today's show, Dodgers prospect Kendall George is officially back on the field after a freak injury last month that involved a dog. Mookie Betts hits career homer 300, powering the Dodgers to a sweep-clinching win against Minnesota. But first, Shohei Ohtani and Dalton rushing are not on the same page? When you look at the box score from Wednesday's 4-3 Dodgers win over the Twins, you'll see another quality outing from Shohei Ohtani on the mound. 6 innings, 3 runs, only 2 earned. 8 strikeouts. His season ERA now sits at 1.58. His fastball averaged 99.8 miles per hour, the hardest average velo of any start in his major league career. That right there is the big picture takeaway. If you just look at stats and don't watch games, if you're a box score watcher, that's what you take from this game. But if you watch the game like I did, there was another storyline that stood out way more, in my opinion. The relationship between Ohtani and Dalton rushing remains a work in progress, and that's saying it lightly. Look, Shohei Ohtani and Will Smith have now spent a lot of time around each other and built trust and a rapport through repetition. Rushing, on the other hand, he's being asked right now, with Will Smith being injured, to jump into being the nearly everyday starting catcher for the Dodgers, in which you have to manage a great pitching staff, including Shohei Ohtani, while also trying to establish himself as a major league catcher. That right there is a lot, and Wednesday, it gave us several examples why that process takes time. The biggest moment came in the second inning. Ohtani had already allowed multiple singles in the inning and the bases were loaded. Then came a first pitch fastball to Ryan Kreidler. The ball got past rushing and rolled out of play for a pass ball, allowing a run to score and tying the game. That happens. But the situation here is that immediately after the play, you could see a visibly frustrated rushing staring at Ohtani from the backstop. Look, rushing is a guy that wears his emotions on his sleeve. But right there, it's like, come on, man. He's your teammate. He's a guy that is a star of the game. He's the face of the sport, not only of the franchise. Chill. Relax. A few pitches later, Kreidler got a 2-run single, and suddenly Ohtani was staring at his second 3-run inning of the season. But that wasn't the only moment that drew attention, because there were multiple instances where Shohei clearly wanted to challenge ball strikes calls with the ABS system, and rushing wasn't convinced. We saw that in Ohtani's last start, where he wouldn't touch his head. He wouldn't touch the top of his hat within those 2-3 seconds that pitchers, hitters, catchers get after a pitch to ask for a review. And Ohtani, in that previous game, you can notice a little bit of frustration, but he trusted his catcher. Over here, he went close to his head and rushing just said, no. Don't challenge it. The next time he did it, Ohtani, this time he said, screw it. Bam, 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 bam. Tapped his head over and over and over again. Even the ump was kind of in shock, because the guys that have the best percentage of balls striked overturned with the ABS system are the guys that are behind the plate, are the catchers. After that, it's the hitters. And last, and certainly not least, are the pitchers. Ohtani was convinced that he had a strike that was called a ball, and he said, screw it. I don't care if this guy gets mad. He tapped his head what it felt like 100 times, and rushing, he was frustrated behind the plate once again. But The umpire was like, wait, he really did challenge that play. So, okay, Los Angeles is challenging the call of a ball, and it was a strike. Ohtani was proven correct. And that was a situation where once the inning ended, the guys end up going to the dugout, and it's two players working through growing pains of a new pitcher-catcher partnership. But in this situation, Rushing, in my opinion, is a guy that you got to earn your stripes. You got to be collaborative with the guy that's up there on the mound, especially when you're talking about a star in the sport. Shohei Ohtani returned to pitching last year around this time in June with 1 inning, then multiple innings, and then he finally got stretched to 5, 6, 7 innings, including pitching in the postseason. But he didn't go to the minor leagues to get those innings with guys that are working their way up, like Dalton Rushing was until he made his debut last year. So Rushing, he has caught other guys that are up there, like an Emmett Sheehan, like a Justin Robleski, but not Shohei Ohtani until now, his recent starts, because Will Smith is hurt. And Dalton Rushing needs to learn how to be a team player, how to be a team first type of guy and not let his emotions take over. And he himself admitted about that they're learning each other, and frankly, that's exactly what it looked like two guys that don't have clear communication. I mean, when the inning ended, he goes to the dugout, and Sportsnet LA, man, they covered it perfectly. They had a shot in the dugout with Dave Roberts having his arm over his shoulder. Then when Dave Roberts left, you could see Freddie Freeman, one of the biggest leaders in this franchise right now, head on over to talk with his young buck. You have Mark Pryor, the pitching coach, go over to talk with him. That's what veteran organizations do. They help their young players navigate difficult moments, but you have to be a smarter guy. And let's listen to what Dalton Rushing said post-game about the moment where his teammates, where his coaches went over to him to talk him over this situation.
It's embarrassing that I need support like that. I'm a grown man. Yeah, it's a pretty tough pill to swallow, both sides of the ball. It was not a great showing, and hasn't been great as of late, and I'm going to be better.
No doubt about it. I 100% agree with him. It's an embarrassing situation that he puts himself in by showing up his own player, by staring at him that way, by waving him off. Let the guy do what he needs to do, what he believes in when it comes to Shohei Ohtani, and it's a situation that hopefully he learns from, but it's something that we've seen throughout the year. Earlier in the season, you saw him mouth F him at a Giants player. You saw him get plunked after he slid hard at Willie Adames. Then he got caught on camera calling a Cubs player a fat F. Then another hard slide against the Pittsburgh Pirates where he was called for interference, or him breaking his bat last Friday after striking out 3 times. Those are terrible moments, and now you stack one where you're talked about in the same sentence with Shohei Ohtani, one of your teammates. Dude, those are 2 completely different situations, and you have to learn about this. You have to learn from this. Doing something where you talk crap about your opponents or get mad at yourself, that's one thing. Showing up your own teammate after a pass ball or not following the lead of the best player in baseball, if there's a guy who has earned burning an ABS system or 2, it's a guy who has rewritten baseball history since arriving with the Dodgers. That's Shohei Ohtani. So I insist. Hopefully it's a learning experience. Will Smith won't be back at the very least until the Dodgers return to Dodger Stadium. There's still 6 more road games in a row with San Diego and the Athletics in Sacramento. But he hasn't resumed baseball activities yet. So you still have to deal with this Dalton Rushing, with this player, with this situation, who went from being a breakout guy in April, hitting all those home runs, looking fantastic, to now being more like a rock in your shoe. That feels like an awkward situation where, well, he has been better with his bat, but you don't want him. I mean, already those situations with players from other teams were uncomfortable. Now with a player from your own team, I think that's something that it's unacceptable in my opinion. But look, The good thing out of all this is that from that point on, Ohtani looked like Ohtani on the mound. In the third inning, he struck out the side, and coincidentally, it was starting in this inning where Shohei started calling the game on his own via the pitch comm. His fastball kept exploding through the zone, his stuff remained electric, and despite dealing with the finger blister that has been discussed for weeks and that nagging knee inflammation, he still completed 6 innings and gave the Dodgers exactly what they needed. That resilience right there shouldn't be overlooked, and we've become so accustomed to perfection from Ohtani that any sign of adversity immediately becomes a major talking point. Yet, this may have been one of those most impressive starts he's made all season long, because he got hit on for 3 runs earlier in the game. Second time this season that he allows 3 runs in a game, even though 1 was unearned. But not everything went right. The battery wasn't perfectly synced, and there were errors over there. There was traffic, and there were conversations that had to happen in real time, and Ohtani still found a way to settle the game down and gave the Dodgers 6 innings and a now sweep of the Minnesota Twins. So let me close this segment asking you, do you think the Ohtani rushing partnership simply needs more reps together, or would you prefer to see another catcher handle more of Ohtani starts while we wait for Will Smith's return? Drop your take in the comments or let us know on any of our social networks, or hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 2793-LOCKED. I want to hear where you stand. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, Mookie Betts reached a huge milestone and reminded everybody why counting him out is usually a bad idea. ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions deal with it. HIMS makes it simple. They connect you with licensed providers online for personalized treatments from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just an easy, straightforward process. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated. HIMS keeps it private and built around your schedule. When something is already uncomfortable to talk about, starting online from home makes that first step much more manageable. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. Once again, hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris.
As the World Cup keeps rolling right along, you can get in on all of the action over on FanDuel with their Every Goal Pays promotion. If you place a wager on a World Cup match, you get a bonus bet for every goal scored by both sides. That way, you keep the action rolling all throughout the World Cup, or you can use those bonus bets on baseball as well. Currently, the Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series this season. Looking at the Yankees coming up right behind them. If you feel good about the Dodgers winning it all for a 3rd time in a row, head on over to FanDuel right now and check out that future, the Every Goal Pays promotion, and so much more. Because when it comes to any sport, FanDuel.com is the way to go. Head on over to FanDuel.com right now.
You can get every episode of Locked On Dodgers ad-free through the Everydayer Club. There's a free 7-day trial waiting for you at LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com or through the link in the show notes. Plus, check out Pete Fox on our YouTube channel with the Locked On Dodgers postcast right after the final out for immediate reaction of every Dodgers game. Mookie joins the 300 Homer Club. If Shohei Ohtani was the story on the mound, Mookie Betts was the story at the plate. And this was a night baseball fans will remember for a long time. Betts entered Wednesday needing just one more bomb to reach the milestone. And he didn't waste much time. In the second inning, he battled Joe Ryan through a lengthy at-bat, worked the count full, stayed alive by fouling off a fastball, then got another heater and crushed it into the seats. Number 300. History, becoming just the 169th major leaguer to reach that milestone. And another reminder of the kind of career that we're watching unfold at the moment. And here's another cool part too. This was home run number 161 that Mookie Betts has hit with the Dodgers. That means that even though he has played fewer years, yes, now in his 7th year with the Dodgers, so one more season with the boys in blue, but fewer games due to injuries, he has more home runs than in his time with the Red Sox. More than half of his homers have come since rocking Dodger blue. And think about everything that this man has accomplished. Former MVP, 4 World Series championships, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, moving from right field to second base to shortstop. He had an incredible play to save the lead for the Dodgers in the 4th inning. He is definitely one of the most complete players of this generation. Now, add 300 home runs to the resume, and this isn't a player who has relied solely on power. He's done it while being an elite defender, elite base runner, elite athlete, and one of the smartest players in the entire sport. The milestone homer was obviously the headline, but his entire game deserves attention, despite the beginning of his season being rough. He even had an injury. He missed time. He returned. Through the month of May, he was batting below 200. But in the month of June, he's hitting 270. This game, he went 3 for 4. He had a home run, a double, a single. He was constantly in the middle of the action, and this is the best version of Mookie Betts. Even though he's hitting lower in the order to what he's used to before Shohei Ohtani arrived, he was a leadoff guy. Then when Shohei arrived, a couple of months later, he became the number 2 batter for the Dodgers. But he's been able to adapt, and right now he's in his best moment of the season. And after Minnesota grabbed some momentum during that messy 2nd inning, Mookie helped the Dodgers immediately regain control, and that response from the offense was huge. They responded to the 3-run inning that the Twins had in the 2nd inning with a 3-run inning of their own in the 3rd to immediately get the lead back. Ohtani drove in a run. Alex Carr contributed. Max Muncy added production. And just like that, this offense showed you that they refuse to let this game get away. And that's an ability to respond that has become one of this team's defining traits. I've been saying it since the beginning of the season. With as deep as a roster as this team has, they are inevitable. They can come through at any moment. That's why it's frustrating whenever those 2-run or run nights pop up for the Dodgers. It's like, man, you have too much damn talent on this team, on this lineup, to not score 5, 8, 10 runs every single night. But it's baseball. There's going to be a pitcher like a Paul Skeens that pops up and pitches a great game against you. But there's also going to be times like in this situation with Joe Ryan where you're able to attack him for 4 runs, and that ends up being enough for a team that simply continues finding answers. And man, I got to say this. The Dodgers bullpen deserves recognition because Ohtani, he was at 89 pitches, if I recall correctly, at the end of the 6th inning. So when it comes to still not getting to triple digits, he could have gone out there, but that's been where he has struggled as of late, when they still let him go out there before getting to 100. So they pulled him at the end of the 6th. They gave the responsibility to the bullpen, and the relievers delivered. Kyle Hurt, he worked around trouble. Alex Vesia, he battled through traffic and struck out 3. And then Tanner Scott shut the door, locked them down. Save number 11. It wasn't always comfortable, but it was effective, and that's what ends up mattering for this team. Keep stacking wins. The result, a sweep. And that is great for this team heading into what is the final stretch of the first half of the season. We're right in the middle of the season for the Dodgers. 81 games down, 81 to go, but baseball's kind of funky, and it's called the first half until you hit the All-Star break, the All-Star game, which is on July 14th, so we still got 3 weeks before the end of the first half of the season, but the Dodgers, they're on the right path, and in this particular night, the spotlight when it comes to the bat, to the offense, belonged to Mookie Betts. 300 home runs A great accomplishment, and knowing Mookie, he's probably already thinking about number 301 because not the number, but because it's going to be able to help this team win, and they ended up needing each and every one of those runs that they scored to get the win. So I need to ask you, where do you think Mookie Betts ranks among the greatest Dodgers players that you've watched in your lifetime? I know he's pretty damn high when it comes to my list. Let me know on YouTube, or also check me out on social media at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, or on TikTok at Harry Ruiz_. Next on Locked On Dodgers, one of the Dodgers' most exciting prospects is finally back after suffering one of the strangest injuries you'll ever see on a field. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're juggling a bunch of separate systems that don't talk to each other. One app for accounting, another for inventory, and another for sales. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings everything together. Sales, accounting, inventory, marketing, all in one platform. So your team can move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know success isn't just about talent. It's about everyone working towards the same goal. Just like in sports, when the front office, coaches, and players are all aligned, great things happen. Great organizations win because operations matter. So try Odoo for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Workplace chaos can show up fast. One day, everything's under control, and the next, you're missing a key piece of the team. The challenge is that finding the right candidate usually takes more time than most businesses can afford, and every delay adds pressure. That's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps. It puts your job in front of people who actually match what you're looking for, like skills, experience, and location. So that way, you spend less time filtering and more time interviewing the right fit. Because one great hire can change everything. It can lift a team, improve momentum, and completely shift how a project or business performs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Head on over right now. Go to Indeed.com/podcast. Terms apply. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Are you new here? Welcome. Everydayers, you already know you're the heartbeat of our show. It's easy and free to help us out. Subscribe and like our content on YouTube. Drop a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. Prospect returns after freak injury. Just when you think you've seen everything in baseball, something happens that reminds you you've actually seen very little. And this goes mostly for what happens on the field. A great defensive play, a crazy play with something happening with the hitter and something crazy happens, or just a pitcher having an incredible milestone, or just watching Shohei Ohtani. That man redefines what the sport of baseball is. But let's now head over to the minor leagues. Double-A, Tulsa Drillers. A little bit over a month ago, Kendall George. This prospect, first off, positive news, he's officially back in action. He returned to the field with the Ontario Tower Buzzers. Yes, he went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts in his first game back, which, by the way, the Vesia team, that's terrible what they did. He went up at bat, Kendall George did, and they played noises of a dog barking. He struck out, they played noises of a dog barking over the PA system. That's shameful, that's terrible, and there should be a fine for that. Be classy. Come on. That's terrible, but look, leaving that behind, honestly, that stat line doesn't matter because the fact is that he's back playing baseball. That's the story, because the injury that sidelined him was unlike almost anything that you'll ever hear. And here's that part of seeing something you've never seen. George injured his patellar tendon while trying to avoid a bat dog. Yes, a bat dog. That happened last month in a home game where, after scoring, the dog was running out to do his job, to retrieve a bat. And as George tried to avoid the dog, he suffered the knee injury. It immediately looked serious. The concern wasn't just missing time. The concern was whether one of the organization's most athletic prospects might require surgery. And with that, potentially missing the rest of the season. Thankfully, that worst case scenario never materialized. And now he's back on the field just a month and a couple of days later. That's huge news for the organization because Kendall George remains one of the most fascinating position players on this system. His speed is elite. Not good, not very good, it's elite. Last year, he stole 100 bases, triple digits. And even before the injury this year, he was hitting 333, while continuing to create havoc on the bases. Those offensive improvements, they were starting to turn heads throughout the organization. The speed has always been there. The question was whether the bat would continue developing. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the season, that was the case. Now the focus shifts to getting him back into rhythm and rebuilding momentum during the second half of the season. So fantastic news. I remember Travis and I discussing this situation. It's minor league baseball. They do wacky things down there, and bat dogs have been a part of what the sport is in a lot of organizations. But after that happened, it should definitely be that situation X, because at the end of the day, the dog is having fun out there while working, but the owners are the ones that are making some money, and that is if the AA affiliates are actually paying these guys and they're not doing it as volunteers. Get a bat boy. There's kids who play baseball who love to be involved in everyday situations at home games for baseball teams. Have them handle the bats. Those guys listen sometimes, or most times, I hope, better than dogs. So avoid any situation like that. Get bat boys instead of bat dogs. And look, that's good news when it comes to Kendall George. And before I wrap up, I want to hit some injury updates, but now with the Major League Club. Blake Snell is scheduled to throw a 15-pitch bullpen session Friday, consisting entirely of fastballs. That was one of the top updates that Dave Roberts provided. Here's another one. Kyle Tucker took swings Wednesday in the cage, and the Dodgers want to evaluate how he responds physically before determining the next step, but there's a good possibility that he's back with the Dodgers once they start their series in San Diego against the Padres on Friday. But here's some bad news. Will Smith still isn't participating in baseball activities. Tyler Glasnow is currently not throwing. So there are still plenty of health questions surrounding this roster, especially with Will Smith, Tyler Glasnow. Now, both of those guys we heard, Smith neck, Glasnow back. Once the injuries happen, it's something simple. Just give them a couple days and they'll be back. Glasnow, now it's been over a month. Will Smith, it feels like it's been now 2 weeks. Where are these guys? But despite all of this, the Dodgers still continue winning games while waiting for reinforcements to come from within. And despite that, they have the best record in the sport at 52-29. So injuries happen, but with how deep this team is, they haven't been able to only survive, they've been able to thrive. Now, can you imagine when they get their starting catcher back, when they get 2 top-of-the-line starters back, when they get their closer back, when they get Kyle Tucker back? I hope that he recovers and is able to play in a better way, because it's been a very disappointing first half of the season for him. But hopefully he's just a boost in the second half. If he's just at least average for what baseball is nowadays, that would be a plus compared to what we've seen, just little bits and pieces of him having good games, but not any type of consistency. So I want to ask you, which Dodgers prospect are you most excited to watch over the next couple of years, and why? Talking about that injury with Kendall George. Is it him? Is it Sahir Hope? Is it Josue De Paula, James Tibbs III, Zach Earhart, or Ryan Ward, who's actually right now with the big league team because Teoscar Hernandez is out with his hamstring injury? He already had his second game with OKC with the Comets over at Reno. He hit another home run, so there's a very good chance that he joins the big league club on Monday when they open their series against the Athletics. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network, now celebrating 10 years. We've hit the halfway mark of the 2026 season, and the Dodgers are absolutely rolling, and I'll be back for Friday's episode where I'm breaking it all down. The stars shining bright, the breakout heroes, and the head scratchers. You won't want to miss this special first half recap pod. If you're with us every day, check out the Everydayer Club. You'll get Locked On Dodgers completely ad-free, access to our members-only Discord, and more perks along the way. Join the party at lockedondodgers.supercast.com. If you're watching on YouTube, stick around and check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network channel. And if you're listening on audio, make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. I appreciate you riding with me. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.